Well, welcome everyone. We're so happy that you could join us on this first Tuesday of the month. We're going to be talking about precast lifting systems. I'm Heidi Reese, the training programs manager at Dayton Superior. Just want to go over a couple of items before we get started. So everyone who has joined the webinar has been muted, but don't let that stop you from asking any questions. You can do that through the question and answer session or through the chat functionality that is located in Zoom. With that, I also want to remind you that we record every one of these and put them out on our YouTube channel for Dayton Superior, as well as on the DaytonSuperior.com website, so that you can review them again later, or if you know someone who will benefit from the precast lifting systems, that you can send that on their way, and I'll send you a little email to let you know that it is out there when we are done. So real quick, this is for training purposes only, this presentation. So if you have any technical specification needs, please refer to DaytonSuperior.com. Anything mentioned product-wise within this training, you can find technical data sheets, safety data sheets out on DaytonSuperior.com on the various product pages. So Dayton Superior, we are the leading provider of engineered solutions for the concrete construction industry. We specialize in accessories, chemicals, forming, but in addition, we also do engineering. We can do some takeoffs for you for bridge deck. We can do things with precast, slab works, tilt works. And, you know, I said the word takeoff and I'm getting the evil eye from Mr. Chuckster here, so forgive me. But in addition, since I mentioned Chuck Hoke, we also perform training. So we're doing one right now. But if you find that you want more training on what we're doing, as far as customized or more in depth, please contact us at training@DaytonSuperior.com. That email goes to Chuck and myself, and we can get in touch with you and figure out what your needs are and then make that happen. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about, like I said, an overview of the precast lifting systems, types of precast and safety factors with that, coil and ferrule, Swiftlift, fleet lift, utility anchors. And the person to discuss that with us today is none other than one of our technical sales representatives from the precast segment, Taylor Blankenship. He's been with Dayton Superior for over 10 years. He has been working in an area sales representative role, a dealer sales manager, and now, like I said, technical sales for precast. He has a degree from the Ohio State University, where he belonged to the professional business fraternity. He's also part of the Precast Pre-Stressed Concrete Institute and plays roles in or follows the chapter of International Concrete Repair, as well as the American Concrete Institute, the National Concrete Association, and the Concrete Reinforcing Steel Institute, or as we better know it, CRSI. He works with our customers pretty much daily or hourly to solve some of their challenges around the precast technical needs, and he is here to teach us all about the precast, well, not all about, but somewhat about, in the 25 minutes he has, precast lifting systems. So Taylor, take it away.
Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here to talk a bit about precast. As Heidi mentioned, I deal on the East Coast with our precast producer partners, and with the precast show going on this week, it's perfect timing to kind of give a broad overview of our precast systems. And keep in mind, as she mentioned, if you want a more detailed or focused in any particular area sort of training, one-on-ones, virtual, in-person, please do feel free to reach out. That's what we're happy to provide. We want to build that familiarity. So today we're going over just an overview of our major systems in the precast market. So let's just jump right into it. When we talk about precast, basically what we're saying is there's a concrete element that will be poured in a facility or on a particular precast site and then transferred to a job site for final placement. There's two major types of precast concrete itself that goes into this process. The first of which here is wet cast, which is probably the more familiar of the two versions. This is what you imagine when you see a concrete mixer truck. You're going to see a higher water cement ratio when compared to the other version, dry cast. So wet cast is going to be a flowable concrete that is used in large and complex pieces with internal reinforcement rebar that you're going to see as kind of the more popular version of the two. For these larger complex pieces, this allows the flowable concrete to consolidate around the reinforcement, and you can build formwork to accomplish really any design. So you're going to see this as in these pictures here, primarily in precast panel plants, like the ones pictured here, as well as in a lot of civil and structural precast facilities. This precast concrete is poured and then normally dried overnight to be removed the next day. It does mention here you can do multiple pours per day, but that's going to require a more specified mix design to allow for that concrete to set up and then be moved within the facility. The other type of precast concrete that we see in our markets is dry cast. This is going to have a lower water to cement ratio, which gives it kind of a clay-like consistency. You're going to see this primarily in, I think, dry cast pipe is probably the largest, along with some hollow core in the market. That's going to be where it's most common. This allows a precast producer to produce multiple units out of a single form, as you can see in the top picture here. They are purpose-built pipe machines that are going to allow you to consolidate and vibrate your concrete and allow you to produce multiple pieces very quickly to then be cured in your facility before final placement. So different types of precast markets that we service here at Dayton Superior. Architectural precast is a big one. This is going to be your wall panels, your cladding, fascia, beams. You're going to have your heavy civil precast, short span bridge, culverts, infrastructure projects like this seawall we see here. And you're also going to have just your standard utility precast, box culverts, this dry cast pipe that you can see being lifted and placed, as well as some prefabbed buildings that you'll find in parks. And when servicing these different markets, it's important to have kind of a clear understanding of kind of what your capacities and use cases are. These are some of the governing safety factors that we take into consideration when providing our technical data. American National Standards Institute, American Concrete Institute, OSHA, and what these kind of provisions provide us with is a standardized set of technical data, the most important of which is listed here, which is our safety factors, which is important to understand. For precast, most of our inserts are going to be at a 4-to-1 safety rating. And that is specifically designed because precast is going to be utilizing these inserts and anchors multiple times. So a higher factor of safety prevents any kind of issues from arising due to, impeding upon the mechanical ultimate loading of any of these inserts. So 4-to-1 is pretty significant. If you, for instance, have a 20,000 ultimate on a anchor or insert, 4-to-1 would then reduce that 20,000 to 5,000 pounds, giving you quite a bit of overhead. Looks like Heidi's got me with some animations here and timers. I'm going to go back here. For 2-to-1, you're going to see that primarily in tilt up, where the anchors are going to be engaged a single time on the crane. So you'll be putting your panel down right there on site, attaching to the crane and erecting. Whereas precast, you're going to be removing it from the formwork internally in your plant, loading it for shipping, removing from the trucking, and then finally placing that. For bracing and permanent fasteners, like our ferrule inserts, a 3-to-1 is what you're going to be seeing. Bracing is 1.5-to-1, it being temporary. And the other major kind of component here for precast specifically is a 5-to-1 safety factor for all of the lifting and handling hardware itself, the clutches, the ring clutches, that's going to be attaching to our anchors. That just prevents those clutches from being the weak point in any system and allowing that connection to be stable throughout whatever you're throwing at it. So now we'll get into the kind of the systems. This is just a broad overview. So just kind of talk about some of the benefits and defining features of each of these. We'll start with our threaded inserts, of which coil and ferrule kind of make up that grouping. Here's our coil inserts. You can see we've got a large variety of designs available. Each of them utilizes a wrapped wire to create a coil interface for a coil rod or bolt. And with these varying designs, it kind of allows this in often lighter lifting situations to be kind of matched to your particular application, whether that's light lifting of a concrete slab or a lid, or attaching temporary bracing. These are meant to be kind of temporary connections for that lifting and handling, and not as a permanent connection. The lifting hardware as well is very varied. We have eyelets, eye bolts, lifting wire ropes, angle irons, and swivel lift plates that can then be used with a coil rod or coil bolt to engage with your rig, or to engage the rigging with your particular insert here. We do make all of our coil inserts here domestically. It's listed here as Tremont, Pennsylvania, and Parsons, Kansas. So if you have a project that is, federal or has a Made in America clause or BABA attached, Dayton Superior, we've been providing these domestically since our inception. So you never have a question there of whether it's import or domestic. The other threaded option we offer is our ferrule inserts. A lot of the design itself is very similar to the coil, but rather than using a wrapped wire to create a coil interface, we use a closed ferrule cap that you can kind of see in some of these inserts here. These ferrule caps use a standardized NC thread. It's a parallel thread, which allows it to avoid backing out over time, therefore making it ideal for these permanent connections. It's also, it being a standardized thread allows you to source a lot of your hardware, bolts, nuts, and threaded rod through local dealers or fab shops. That allows you to attach your HVAC, electrical equipment, what have you. So for permanent connections, this is what you're going to be casting into your precast elements. Now we'll get into our Swiftlift system. This is primarily found in utility and heavy civil precast. We've been providing this particular system since the 70s. It utilizes a forged anchor, always using that 4-to-1 safety factor for the anchors themselves, with the clutches providing that 5-to-1. We've got a number of tonnages available, all the way from 1 ton up to 20 ton. I'm going to keep clicking until it goes, Heidi. There we go. Yeah, this is a very simple system. They're often referred to as dog bones. As you can see on the right here, that's a typical P52 anchor. We call it Swiftlift, but you can see it does resemble the shape of a dog bone. This allows you to kind of rotate your pieces when under load. So if you're lifting a pipe or something along those lines and it needs some rotation, the kind of circular nature of this allows you to rotate that. The clutch itself is created to engage with our heads of the anchors here. This is our P50 lifting hardware here on the left. Each of these lifting clutches is going to match the markings of the anchors themselves. It'll have a tonnage rating. Here in this particular picture, we have a 4-ton clutch with a 4-ton anchor. So when you're looking at a system, or these anchors in particular, when you're trying to match them to your particular application, this is a typical load rating sheet that you'll find in our technical data, be that the Precast handbook, the product page on our website, or a technical data sheet. Here you can see the different tonnages are broken out. This is going to make it easy to match the anchor to the P50 or P51 lifting hardware that you'll need to engage. You can see that for these P52s, we have a safe working load for multiple PSI ratings. So that's just strength of your concrete at time of initial lift. So that just allows you to more fully understand which anchor is going to be working best for you based on your concrete mix design. Another important note here is that all of our anchors are going to take into account a depth and a minimum edge and corner distance. That's just to guarantee that there's a full shear cone on those anchors to provide the maximum capacity. So for instance, on line 1 here, the 2 5/8 inch at 3,500 PSI, which is very common, it'll be giving you 1,700 pounds, so long as it is 8 inches or more from the nearest edge. Now for our anchor systems like the Swiftlift and others, we offer recess plugs to allow you to properly set back these anchors from the surface of the concrete and to allow enough room for the lifting hardware to engage. You can see on the bottom here, we have our recess plug. and some of the options for the connecting hardware. If you're wet setting just on the surface of a precast element, a holding plate with 2 studs will keep that clamshell design closed. So if you're just wet setting there, that may be all you need. If you're attaching an anchor to the side through formwork, a holding rod like in the middle and on the right might be a better option for you to go through job built wood forms or steel forms that you have in your plant. We also offer magnetic options for a lot of our precast connection hardware as well. If you're using and utilizing the same sizing and anchors, that might be something that can help cut down on cost and improve speed and efficiency in your facility. They're available, just like the lifting hardware and the anchors themselves, by the tonnage size. And we do offer urethane, rubber, and disposable versions of these for the Swiftlift system. Urethanes are the red in color, our rubber are black rubber, and the disposables are a brightly colored plastic clamshell design. Fleetlift is our second major system for precast, pre-engineered anchors. What the pre-engineered means here on the Fleetlift section is that this is more, whereas the Swiftlift system, the dog bones, is pretty straightforward. It's a single design. These Fleetlift systems allow you to really fine tune and tailor each one of your selections to your particular application. It's still a quick connect system that's easy to install. There's no cables or exposed steel to cut or cover. Again, just like our Swiftlift system, we separate these out into different ton systems, all the way from 1 ton up to the 12 ton of some of our forged anchors. And you can see with the Fleetlift system, whereas the Swiftlift has a single tonnage, our Fleetlift can be confusing at times, but I promise it's not too difficult. We have a 1 to 3 ton anchor is going to match a 1 to 3 ton range on the lifting hardware. And that goes the same for the 4 to 6 ton and the 8 to 12 ton. So here's a few of our Fleetlift anchors. These are our stamped steel erection anchors. You can see that there are varying designs, some with plate, some without. The 4 on the left and the left and middle columns are more for edge lifting solid panels or thicker structural withes on a sandwich panel, whereas the 2 in the right column are going to be made for insulated panels with foam insulation running between 2 concrete withes. And you can see that with the differences here, you have the options of plates, without plates, pins, etc. The Fleet system allows for some of that fine tuning. When we say erection head anchor types, what these are really designed to do is take a panel from a horizontal position to a vertical position. So if you imagine a panel laying flat and then going to the vertical on a crane, those erection ears, the squared off ears around the lifting pole, are going to prevent concrete spalling and allow the clutch to engage with the anchor before your concrete. That helps prevent any issues both aesthetically and structurally with your panel. Here's our non-erection anchor head types, just a handful of them here to show you some of the differences. You can see those squared off ears aren't present here. What that will normally tell you is that rather than taking a product from horizontal to vertical, a lot of these non-erection head anchors are going to be more for backstripping panels or lifting in a single direction. There's plenty of different applications where you may see this, where a T anchor might work for one application, a 2-hole anchor might work for a different. So it allows you that flexibility in designing your panel. Now, the pictures we showed of the Fleetlift items up to this point were all stamped steel plate. You can see those on the left here. We also offer forged designs for our system. You can see that a lot of these have similarities in design and shape and function between both. A lot of it comes down to personal preference, but there are a few, I guess, benefits to go to the forged over the stamped steel. One of which is they just perform better. They're stronger than their stamped counterparts. The forged metal does offer a bit of protection, even in plain finish, to corrosion and rusting. And there's much less embrittlement with low temperatures if you're a precaster or a contractor in a more northern state for 6 months of the year, if you're from Minnesota. Now, these fleetless anchors can be used with our recess voids here. You can see that there's a few options you have to choose from. We have a steel in the top. That gold is our steel cap. In the middle there is our 3-part disposable system. And on the top right in the blue is our urethane reusable system. Each one of these will function pretty much identically. The steel is going to have a better resistance to chemical and temperature ranges that some of the disposables and urethanes may not necessarily handle the best. For a cost-effective option, our disposables are great. If it's a single project, a one-off, that can prevent you from having to invest in that reusable. Whereas that blue reusable with the stainless lug is going to be, good for, sometimes I've heard anywhere up to 50 pours. So if you're using these products every day, the urethane or the steel may pay off just in how infrequently you'll need to replace. And you can see here in the bottom right, the holding hardware, the holding rod with the wing nut. That's a typical application for a side form connection. The steel utilizes a wedge and a piece of foam to prevent concrete intrusion. Lastly, we kind of have our catch-all-ish sort of utility anchor system. These systems do not require a particular lifting and handling clutch like our Swiftlift and our Fleetlift. You'll see this a lot in utility work, pipe producers, box culverts. So we called it our utility system. The main anchor here is our P75, which is very similar to the foot design of the P52 Swiftlift dog bones. But you can see the boomerang shape here allows you to attach a hook or clevis to this anchor, and you will not have to go out and buy a particular clutch to interface with the system. Here's an example of a few examples of the hook and the clevis. Precasters seem to like this because you're no longer having to provide that lifting hardware from your plant to the erection or placement contractors. Any contractor on site will be able to use what they have on hand to lift and move these products. Here's kind of a utility style chart here with the differing capacities here. You can see that these particular products are very highly rated in the shear 90 direction, as well as in tension. And these are set up based on panel thickness or slab thickness, wall thickness. You can see we have everything from a 4-inch thickness all the way up to the P75H, which maxes out the 24,000 pounds at a 12-inch. We offer recess members for this as well, both in 90-degree and 45-degree configurations. If you have a tight fit and want to use a larger anchor, that 45-degree was designed for that purpose, although I would say these days the 90 is much more popular. We do also offer, based on what kind of hooks or clevises you have on hand, some of our standard depths may be a little tight. You don't want your lifting hardware touching your concrete surface. So we do also offer a wider and deeper recess if you're using larger hooks. This is a relatively new anchor that's very similar, a P75R, to the P75 series. These were designed for lifting and handling retaining wall blocks. There are a few producers out there, or I guess licensee systems that you may be familiar with that do larger retaining wall blocks out there. These can either be wet set or, with the anchor extruding out the top of the block, or you can utilize our P76R to then set that back from the concrete surface. We've got a number of sizes here based on your particular need with the depth available or with the capacity that you need for each lift. You can use a standard hook and clevis like our other utility system, but we also made a point to design these as being compatible with our Fleetlift ring clutches. So if you're already a user of the Dayton Fleetlift system and you're doing some of this product on the side, those can also be used to lift and handle these P75R products. And here you can see a typical application down here in the bottom right. This is it extruding out the top of or I guess being exposed out the top of the product. They can also, as I mentioned, be set back with those recess plugs. We've got a number of sizes here with the corresponding safe working loads, so it can be kind of fine-tuned to what you need for your particular application. Our P110 wire ropes are also part of the utility category here. Again, they can be used or utilized with a hook or a clevis. These are very economical. Basically, you're wet setting these wire ropes down into your product. You're then connecting to the top of the loop with a hook, and then you can either leave that exposed after placement or cut off and covered, patched on site. They are galvanized wire ropes. There will be some protection for storage and things like that, although I do see most out there either cutting or coating if placed out in the field. You're going to see this a lot in smaller precast items, risers for manholes or small lids, but they're an economical option if capacity isn't a major concern. You can see that a lot of these here are on the lower end, although we do go all the way up to 20,000 pounds with some of our larger wire ropes. So really, if you're producing a product where exposed metal on the surface of the concrete isn't an issue, if you're burying your product or it's an underground product, with the wide variety we have here, safe working load wise, there could be an option out there that works for your project. Each one of these wire ropes has a color coded tag as well, just to help your teams identify that the proper product is going in to each one of your pieces. So those colored tags will delineate which tonnage is being used. And it appears that that is the end of our broad overview. As I mentioned, if you wanted to reach out to us or the training team for any more specific or personalized training, please do feel free to reach out to me or Heidi and Chuck. But I'll give it back over to Heidi here. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate that. Really well done. So I'm just going to go through some resources and some good stuff that we've got going on this month. So you know that DaytonSuperior.com is your resource location for so many good things, such as product pages, technical data sheets, engineering needs, handbooks, the guides, certification, training, etc. So as you see on your screen, you're seeing some of that I just mentioned. To the right there is a technical data sheet. Just simply search in the search field on the main screen if you don't know where to go. And you can search, like in this case, P52, and you can find the Swiftlift chart or the product page or the Precast handbook or certificate of compliance if that meets for that particular product. In addition, we've got contact information that can be really important if you want to talk to your sales representative. You can, or a tailor, actually. He's in what are you? You're in the East. And so he would be on this map that I'm referring to. So if you see on the bottom right where it says click or call when you need answers, you can go onto the map and you can find your territory, and you can see your sales representatives, your technical service representatives for precast splicing, you name it. We've referenced a couple times, if you need more training than just this, you can review the past Training Tuesdays. They are going to be short and some quick, teasers, so to speak. But in order to request a training class, you see, you can scan there a QR code to the right, and it'll just take you through a very quick form that basically you tell us what you need, and then we'll get back to you. But let's keep on going. We're almost out of time. I do want to say, go ahead and put some questions in while this sucker is loading, because look at all these good precast deals happening. Go ahead and put your questions in and we can get to that. But I want to let you know we've got a Precaster's Paradise going on for February. So what does that mean? On the P75R that you learned about and the P92SP, those are all on special pricing. On the select versions of the utility anchors and the fleet forged erection anchors with shear plate, the wire rope system that you just recently heard, at the end, P53, P52, and as well as a sandwich panel for the fleet lift. All of those are on special this month. So please contact your sales representative. I showed you how to get to that, the contact form. So if you have any questions, go ahead and talk to them and you can get the good deal. And one more plug, we've got the Precast show happening, and it's going to start on Thursday. I think it starts about 2 o'clock, and it's in Denver, Colorado at the Colorado Convention Center. And we are going to be in booth 811. We've also recently acquired HK Composites, and they will be very close by in another booth, and you can visit them as well and talk to us both at the same time. So with that, I don't see any questions in, but I'm going to give it just a little bit more. Do you have any questions? Please feel free to put them in right now for Taylor or Chuck here, or myself. You can ask me how my day's doing. It's doing great. All right, it looks like we don't really have anything. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Taylor, for walking us through this. Very enlightening. And until next week, everyone, see you next Tuesday. Bye now.